The ashes of civility. The chamber of the Terran Council was silent, though every seat was filled. 1,000 eyes fixed on the holoscreen at the center of the chamber. The image flickered, burned out husks of buildings, scorched earth, and skeletal towers clawing into a gray sky. The footage had been pulled from a single escape pod, recovered from Eidolon IV, humanity's newest colony on the edge of Xal'eth space. 47,000 lives had been there. Farmers, engineers, children who had never set foot on Earth itself. Now only dust and silence remained. Chancellor Mireille Voss, silver-haired and stern, sat at the head of the council table. Her voice was measured, but the tightness in her throat betrayed her grief. "Confirm the numbers," she said. A young officer swallowed hard as the report came up. "All colonists presumed dead, Chancellor. Orbital records show a fleet of Xal'eth destroyers entered the system. They bypassed defenses, descended, and sterilized the surface." He hesitated. "We recovered one escape pod. Only one." The chamber rippled with murmurs. "Sterilized. A clean word for an act that reeked of blood." "Bring them in," Voss ordered. The doors slid open. A boy no older than 9 shuffled forward, wrapped in a blanket, eyes sunken and wide. His name was Leon Cortez. He clutched a charred toy starship as if it were his last anchor to life. A medic guided him gently, but when the holoscreen replayed the destruction, the boy broke down. "They laughed," he whispered, voice raw. "The Xal'eth soldiers, they laughed when people screamed. My mother tried to hide me in the pod. She said to stay quiet. Then his breath hitched. They shot her, and they laughed." The silence that followed was heavier than any storm. Admiral Elias Cade, seated at the far end, leaned forward. His uniform bore the weight of 3 decades of war and restraint. A man who had fought to keep humanity measured in the eyes of the galaxy. His jaw clenched until the veins stood out. "We have tolerated their raids. We have tolerated their provocations. We have obeyed the Assembly's laws. And what has it gained us?" His eyes burned as they scanned the chamber. 47,000 of our people turned to ash. Children, families, farmers. "Admiral," Chancellor Voss warned, "the Galactic Assembly will convene. We will bring this atrocity before them. If we act without sanction." "Sanction?" Cade's voice cut through the hall like a blade. "Sanction means waiting. Waiting while they plan the next slaughter. Do you think the Assembly cares? Where were they when the colony burned? Sitting in their marble chambers, wringing their hands, drafting resolutions." Across the table, Captain Yara's son slammed her palm against the steel surface. Young, untested in high politics, but with fire in her blood, she could barely contain her rage. "My brother was on Eidolon," she spat. "Do not tell me to wait. Do not tell me to sit while murderers dance on his grave. The Assembly won't save us. We have to save ourselves." The debate erupted, voices overlapping, half pleading for patience, half demanding vengeance. But the boy's quiet sobs cut through all of it. Lien stared at them with hollow eyes, clutching the toy ship tighter. "She said humans were gentle," he whispered. "She said we didn't hurt people unless we had to." His gaze flicked upward. "But they hurt us anyway." The word struck like a hammer. Chancellor Voss bowed her head. She had spent her career proving to the galaxy that humanity had risen above savagery, that they belonged among the stars as equals, not conquerors. But now her voice trembled with something darker. "We try to be better," she said. "We tried mercy. We tried restraint. And they mistook it for weakness." Admiral Cade rose to his feet. His shadow loomed long under the council lights. "Then mercy dies tonight," he said. A hush fell. No one challenged him, not even Voss. For the first time in centuries, humanity's leaders looked not to the law of the galaxy, but to the law of survival. In the silence that followed, a single unspoken truth bound them all together. The age of gentleness was over. Forged in fire, the shipyards of Mars had not seen such frenzy since the old solar wars. For decades, they had been monuments of restraint, constructing sleek defense vessels, exploration cruisers, and diplomatic envoys. But now the forges burned day and night, vomiting fire and steel into the void. Humanity was mobilizing for war, Across the Sol system, every industrial facility was repurposed. Titan's methane harvesters became missile factories. The orbital rings above Earth shifted from trade to troop deployment. Luna's shipwrights, once building civilian liners, now laid the keels of dreadnoughts armed with weapons long outlawed. Admiral Elias Cade stood in the command hub of Orbital Forge 7, gazing through the viewport at the skeletal frame of a battleship under construction. The vessel dwarfed anything built in the last 2 centuries. Its name was already chosen, Vigil's End. They said these weapons should never see light again, murmured Commander Ree, his second-in-command. His eyes tracked the massive cannons being fitted along the ship's spine. Sunlance batteries, singularity warheads. If the Assembly sees this... Cade's voice was iron. The Assembly had their chance. They chose silence while our people burned. Let them see. Ree nodded, though unease lingered in his eyes. Across the system, the media broadcasted a message on every channel. Chancellor Voss, her face hard but resolute, delivered the speech that would define humanity's new era. To the Galactic Assembly, you preach law while our children's bones are ground into dust. You tell us to be patient while killers sharpen their knives. No more. Earth will not beg for justice. We will make it. To those who slaughter the innocent, to those who call mercy weakness, hear this. We are done being gentle. We are coming for you. The words were translated into 100 alien tongues and carried on every frequency. Across the galaxy, reactions erupted. The gentle Relari wept, whispering prayers of solidarity. The enslaved Kareen tribes secretly raised banners with human insignia, whispering, perhaps the humans will do what we cannot. But the powerful Emissary Council declared Earth reckless, warning that such rage would destabilize galactic peace. To the Xal'eth, however, it was only mockery. Their broadcasts laughed at human threats, calling them the mewling cubs of the stars. Inside the Sol system, none of that mattered. Humanity no longer cared for alien approval. Captain Yara Sun walked the decks of her newly assigned warship, the Iron Resolve. Her boots rang against steel as she inspected the crew. Men and women, young, old, veterans, recruits, moved with grim determination. The ship itself was alive with energy, its systems humming with weapons sealed away for generations. In the command chamber, Sun paused before the warship's core, an engine that could rip open gravity wells, once forbidden under interstellar law. For a long moment, she rested her hand against the glowing bulkhead, feeling the thrum beneath her palm. She wanted to believe in justice, in order, in restraint. That had been the creed drilled into every cadet of the Terran fleet. But every time her thoughts wavered, her brother's face returned, his laugh, his stubborn optimism. And then the image of Eidolon IV, blackened and dead. The doubt hardened into steel. My crew is ready, Admiral, she said when Cade's face appeared on her comm screen. He studied her, eyes shadowed with fatigue, yet burning with resolve. You are young, Captain. Do you know what it means to abandon gentleness? Yes, sir, she answered, her voice steady. It means survival. It means justice. Cade gave a slow nod. It means war without limits. And it will stain us forever. Better stained and alive, Sun said, than gentle and extinct. For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Cade's grim expression softened, if only slightly. Spoken like one who has already chosen. The first fleet review was a sight that shook every soul who beheld it. From Earth's orbit to the edges of Jupiter, warships assembled, sleek destroyers, hulking carriers, ancient dreadnoughts reborn. Thousands of vessels gleamed under Sol's light, their weapons arrays charged, banners of blue and white blazing. The people of Earth gathered in cities, on rooftops, on mountainsides, watching the streams. Cheers erupted, but beneath them ran something deeper, a thrum of anger, of unity, of vengeance sharpened into a blade. When Admiral Cade's voice boomed across the system, it carried with it centuries of restrained fury. People of Earth, children of Sol, today we cast aside illusions. We sought peace, but peace was denied us. We offered mercy, but mercy was mocked. So now we take up the weapons we swore to lay down. Not for conquest, not for empire, but for our dead, for our children, for the right to exist. Let the stars know humanity is done being gentle. And in that moment, the galaxy trembled, the wrath unleashed. The first strike came without warning. In the pale dawn above the Xal'eth border world Dravos Prime, the ground shook as the sky split apart. From the void, the Vigil's end descended with its escort fleet. Before the planetary defense network could even activate, beams of white fire lanced downward. Sunlance batteries, once entombed in silence, now screaming back to life. Cities that had stood for centuries dissolved into molten rivers. Military bases cracked open like eggshells. In orbit, Xal'eth cruisers scrambled to respond, only to be torn apart in minutes. Humanity had come not with warnings or ultimatums, but with judgment. From the bridge of the Iron Resolve, Captain Yara's son stood rigid as the first reports flowed in. Planetary defenses neutralized. Enemy fleet destroyed. Minimal human casualties. Her crew cheered, but Sun did not. Her eyes were locked on the hollow feed of the planet's surface. Fires spreading across Dravos Prime. Towers collapsing into rubble. Millions screaming as their empire crumbled. She told herself these were soldiers, not innocents. She told herself this was justice. And yet the weight of it pressed against her chest like a stone. Admiral Cade's voice thundered over the fleet-wide channel. Today we remind them, humanity is not prey. Eidolon IV was their triumph. Dravos Prime is their requiem. The crews roared in approval, their voices carrying across the void. The campaign did not pause. The Retribution Armada pushed from system to system, burning through the Xal'eth frontier like wildfire. Shipyards shattered. Supply chains collapsed. Worlds once fortified with pride now smoldered under human bombardment. The galaxy watched in horror and awe. Reports spread across every channel. The humans do not stop. The emissary diplomats demanded restraint, warning Earth that their actions teetered on the edge of galactic war crimes. But the human delegation replied with a single transmission. Images of Eidolon IV, its people lying in charred heaps. Where were your laws? The message asked, when our children burned. It was on Xal'eth, a fortress world of the Xal'eth, that Captain Sen's faith was tested. Her ship pierced the planet's orbital grid, blasting apart defense stations until nothing remained but debris. When ground forces landed, they found not soldiers, but cages, vast camps filled with captives. Humans. Gaunt, skeletal figures stumbled from the pens, their eyes hollow from starvation and torment. Some bore marks of experiments. Others carried the scars of deliberate mutilation. A young girl whispered to the soldiers, "They made us fight each other for food, for sport." When Sen received the report, something inside her snapped. She ordered the bombardment of Xal'eth to continue, not against military targets, but across the civilian sectors. Her officers hesitated, staring at her as if she had grown another face. "Captain," one of them said carefully, "there are non-combatants down there." Sen's jaw tightened. So were the children of Eidolon. So were the captives in those cages. Tell me, did the Xal'eth spare them? No one answered. The fire fell. The galaxy trembled as the Iron Resolve broadcast the liberation of the slave camps. The footage spread everywhere, emaciated humans weeping in the arms of their rescuers, children crying out to the stars. But woven alongside that triumph came the horror. Entire Xal'eth cities reduced to cinders. Alien commentators spoke in hushed tones. The humans are not simply fighting. They are erasing. In the assembly chambers, representatives demanded humanity be censured. Yet in the quiet halls of oppressed species, whispers grew louder. Perhaps this is the justice we have waited for. On the bridge of the Vigil's end, Admiral Cade studied the battle map. Red markers of Xal'eth strongholds flickered one by one, then winked out under human assault. His officers exulted, but he remained grim. "Do not mistake victory for peace," he said. "We have cut their flesh. Now we must strike their heart." His gaze lifted to the stars beyond. The Xal'eth homeworld loomed ahead, heavily fortified, a bastion no enemy had ever breached. But Cade's voice was iron. "We will breach it. We will show the Mercy's corpse." In the quiet of her quarters, Captain Sun stared at her reflection. The cheers of her crew still echoed in her ears, yet the faces of the civilians on Xal'eth haunted her more. She whispered into the silence, "We're becoming what we hate." But then she remembered her brother's laughter, the smoldering ruins of Eidolon, the cages of broken children. Her hand curled into a fist. "No," she said to her reflection. "We're becoming what we must." The Retribution Armada burned on, unstoppable, and the galaxy at last understood the truth. Humanity had shed its gentleness, and the stars would never be the same again. The new law of Earth. The Xal'eth homeworld had never known fear. Its oceans glistened under twin suns. Its capital towers stretched higher than any other in their empire. Armies of billions stood ready. Fleets numbering thousands guarded its skies. To the Xal'eth, their dominion was eternal. Until the humans came. The Retribution Armada emerged from hyperspace in a storm of fire. At its head sailed the Vigil's End, its prow gleaming with the fury of soul. Behind it stretched humanity's vengeance. Dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, and ships once retired now reborn for war. The first volley shattered the pride of Xal'eth. Orbital rings crumbled. Shipyards detonated. Defense fleets, vast and terrible, disintegrated under barges of singularity warheads. On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, Captain Yara's son gripped her chair as the battle raged. The void lit up with explosions, entire fleets blinking out of existence in waves of fire. Her crew moved with cold precision. There was no hesitation now, no debate. Humanity was past the point of restraint. Admiral Cade reports their flagship destroyed. Her communications officer relayed. Sen's voice was a whisper, more to herself than to the crew. "Then the heart is breaking." For 3 days, the battle stormed. On the 4th, silence. The Xal'eth capital lay in ruins, its defense towers broken, its oceans boiling with debris. From orbit, the once proud world seemed wounded beyond recognition. In the council chamber of Earth, the transmission came at last. The Xal'eth High Command, their faces bruised with humiliation, begging for terms of surrender. Chancellor Voss, flanked by Admiral Cade and Captain Sun, stood before the galaxy's watching eyes. The weight of humanity's choice pressed on her shoulders. But her voice was steady, resolute. "You sought to erase us. You slaughtered our children. You mocked our mercy. And now you ask for peace." Her eyes burned with cold fire. "You will have it, but only the peace we dictate." Gasps rippled across the galactic assembly as she continued. "Your fleets will be dismantled, your cloning vats destroyed, your war leaders tried, and your empire stripped of its weapons. You will pay reparations to the survivors of Eidolon IV, for as long as your species endures. Break these terms, and Earth will return, not as conquerors, but as executioners." The Xal'eth leader lowered his gaze. "We accept." In the assembly's chambers, chaos erupted. Some species denounced Earth as tyrants, claiming they had replaced one evil with another. But others, those who had cowered under Xal'eth oppression, rose in support. Delegates of smaller nations approached the human delegation, whispering pledges of alliance. For them, humanity's wrath was not tyranny, it was hope. Admiral Cade listened to the debates, unmoved. He turned to Captain Sun, who lingered at his side. "We have changed the galaxy," he said quietly. Sen's face was pale, shadowed by exhaustion. "Have we saved it, Admiral, or doomed it?" He regarded her for a long moment before answering. "Both." In the weeks that followed, humanity drafted what would be known as the Earth Doctrine. Its tenets were simple, carved into every stone and broadcast into every corner of space. 1. Any act of genocide against humanity will be met with total war. 2. No appeals to law or diplomacy will stay Earth's hand. 3. Mercy is for the innocent. For butchers, there is only fire. The declaration echoed across the stars. Some trembled, some cheered. All understood. The age of a gentle humanity was over. On the observation deck of the Iron Resolve, Captain Sun stood alone, watching the stars whirl slowly past. She thought of her brother, of Eidolon's ashes, of the cages on Xal'eth. She thought of the cities she had reduced to rubble with a single command. Admiral Cade joined her, silent for a while. Finally, he spoke. "We became monsters to fight monsters." His voice was heavy, but not regretful. "But in the end, we are alive. Our people are alive." Sun nodded, though her heart carried scars that would never fade. "We're feared now. Better feared than forgotten," Cade said. They stood together in silence, staring out into the endless night. Earth's final broadcast to the galaxy was simple, spoken by Chancellor Voss in words that would echo for centuries. "Once we were gentle. We are not anymore. Remember that." And with those words, humanity's place in the stars was forever changed. Not as diplomats, not as supplicants, but as a species that had risen from the ashes of genocide, forged in fire, and taught the galaxy to tremble. The age of gentleness had ended. The age of retribution had begun.